Hi everyone. Welcome back to this channel on narcissism and narcissistic relationships and healing from these relationships. It's my hope that this content will help you make sense of these really difficult situations, help you heal and help you thrive despite these relationships in your life. So today we're going to talk about a phrase that I use often. We who grew up with narcissism and dysfunctional families. What does that even mean? And why do I say that so often? Let's break it down. First, let's start with the word we. When I say we, I don't say it lightly because when I say we, I mean a large group of people who all share a common experience of growing up with narcissistic parents or narcissistic and/or dysfunctional families. I say we to remind you that you are not alone. If you grew up in a narcissistic family, chances are you're not the only one. There are millions of us who had this experience and continue to deal with the fallout of it in real time. Next, let's look at the word narcissism. Narcissism is a pattern of self-centered, exploitative, and manipulative behavior. A narcissistic family is one in which the adult members are so focused on themselves and their own needs that they are unable to provide a safe, nurturing, and loving environment for the children growing up in that family system. Instead, they may be dismissive of the children's needs. They may use the children to meet their own needs, or they may be indifferent to the children altogether. And then finally, let's look at the word dysfunctional. A dysfunctional family is one that is not operating in a healthy way. The relationships between the members are unhealthy, and there's a lot of dysfunction in the family system. For example, there may be a lot of conflict in the family, or the family may be broken, like divorced or separated. And this can also include, by the way, any kind of family structure where there's abuse, addiction, mental illness, violence, or just sort of an inability for the adults in the home to create any sense of stability or safety for the children. When I say we who grew up with narcissism and dysfunctional families, I'm talking about all of us who grew up in these kinds of environments, all of us who had to navigate these kinds of challenges. I say it to remind you that you're not alone, but I also say it to remind you that if you were harmed by your family, if you experienced abuse or neglect, that was not your fault. You didn't cause that. No one asked to be born into a narcissistic or dysfunctional family, and it's not your fault that the adults in your life weren't able to meet your needs. But despite that reality, many of us went on to become high achievers, didn't we? Because that's what many of us do. But here's the thing. Even though you may have become a high achiever, even though you may be successful, you may still struggle with feelings of insecurity, self-doubt, and fear of abandonment. And that's okay. It's okay to feel that way because no one should have to experience that. But we did. And many of us do still feel those things. So I say we who grew up with narcissism and dysfunctional families to acknowledge our shared experience and to remind you that you are not alone. And that's the we I want you to take away from this phrase. You are not alone. There are millions of us out here who get it. We get what you're going through. Thanks again. Hey everyone, welcome back to this channel on narcissism. I'm gonna say something that might be controversial, okay? We who grew up with narcissism and dysfunctional families are not broken. Now before you click off this video, hear me out. Okay, we are not broken. However, we do have scars, and those scars run deep. And it is because of the chronic stress and trauma of living in narcissistic and/or dysfunctional families that many of us have had to survive. We may not be broken, but we do come into the therapeutic room or the healing program, the healing journey with wounds that need tending. So let me say this again. It is not our fault that we are struggling. It is because we grew up in environments where we were not nurtured, that we have these wounds. And when we did not have the ability to develop healthy coping skills because of the trauma and the stress that we were under, then we were forced to develop unhealthy coping skills. And these unhealthy coping skills may have worked for us in the short term, but they're not working for us in the long term. So many of us are walking on eggshells around family members. Many of us have put our own needs and wants aside, and we've gone along with what the family wanted, what the family needed, so that we could get our needs met in some way. Many of us are people pleasers. Many of us have become really good at being really nice. Many of us don't like to rock the boat. Okay, now you can see why these unhealthy coping skills may have worked in the short term, but they're not working in the long term. You can't stay in that chronic state of sympathetic arousal, where you're constantly scanning for what landmine you're going to step on next, in order to get your needs met. We also are in relationships that may not be healthy for us, because we have a hard time setting boundaries. And when we do set boundaries, we feel guilty about it. And if the other person pushes into our boundary, we let them in, and we hope that this time it will be different. Many of us have been trying to earn love our entire lives. We are seeking out validation because we didn't get enough of it as children. And when we don't get that validation, we feel worthless. We feel that there's something wrong with us. Now, if any of this resonates with you, know that this is a pattern that you can change. You can learn new coping skills. You can learn to soothe yourself. You can learn what your needs are, how to ask for your needs to be met in an assertive way. You can learn what boundaries are and how to hold them. And you can learn that you are worthy of love just as you are. This stuff doesn't have to be permanent. There is healing available. If you would like help with that, reach out for help. But please stop beating yourself up. Stop saying you're broken. You are not broken. You are beautifully broken. And there is healing available. Hope that helps. Thanks again.